Hi, for today's episode of CEO Talks, we have with us Amit Gupta, the founder and CEO of upUgo.
Hi Abhishek.
Hello, hi, nice having you here.
Same here.
So, Amit, before you plunged into the world of entrepreneurship, you had a lot of experience with the corporates, right?
Yes.
You were a director at EY, then you moved to Nova Medical Centers, and after that you moved to Jupiter Capital, and you were heading the AsiaNet news media there.
Correct.
Up until 2019, that is.
That's right.
And that's when you decided to start upUgo.
That's right.
So in your own words, tell us what exactly does your company do?
Sure. So before that, like you said, my career kind of spans across around 21, 22 years in the fields of finance, in the fields of business development, running businesses in organizations, and also kind of dealing with a lot of people, especially during my Nova stint. So that gave me the opportunity to see healthcare from a very close quadrant. And the reason I'm kind of bringing that up is that also is the reason what led me to upUgo. So when I was doing healthcare, I was talking to a lot of doctors and clinicians. And I was seeing that how the overall health index of our country is deteriorating at a rapid pace. And then some of my interesting conversations which I was having with some of the pediatricians and some of the psychologists, I realized that the health of children was at an all-time high risk. And when I started connecting the dots and I started seeing more and more, I mean, you start seeing what you want to see, right? Suppose you want to buy a car, you just start seeing that model on the road.
Exactly,
right?
yes.
Kind of that psychology started working with me. And everywhere around when I was looking, I was seeing children who were unfit, who were obese. I was hearing some horror stories from people in my family and otherwise of children having headache, depression, suicidal thoughts. So those data points were quite alarming, and honestly speaking, they were quite scary. On the other hand, I was having early teens and kind of young boys growing up in my house, and I was just trying to connect the data points here and there. At which point I realized that my own transformation from 2007, when I took fitness as a lifestyle and not as a hobby or not as a fashion, which many people still do. Yes. The transformative effects which it had in my own life were extremely compelling. And as a father of two teenagers, when I started imbibing that lifestyle into their lives, I saw how they were kind of, growing up and shaping up as individuals. So by triaging all the 3 points, on one end, the health of children in the country, on one end, seeing what the benefits it accrues to one's life, and seeing how children kind of shape up when they are exposed to early age fitness and sports, it led me to kind of start seeing this from a pure data and analytical standpoint. And I realized that India is having 14 million obese children, 50 million children suffer from depression and psychological disorders. Nimans has 67% of people reporting with suicidal thoughts in the age brackets of 9 to 19. Okay. And we have, unfortunately, a suicide every 1 hour in our country, especially in the age brackets which are very, very early age. All of this thought made me think, that while sports and fitness is not a complete antidote to all of these things, but it is certainly a very big measure or a very big cure if it is taken to every child's home and every child's doorstep in a very, very sophisticated and in a very, very friendly manner, which is what led us to get into upUgo with the aim of democratizing sports and fitness in India for children and young adults by making it accessible and by making it affordable.
All right.
So that's how upUgo came into being, Abhishek.
All right. So like you mentioned, you looked at the data set of kids from 9 to 19. Is it the same age group that you're focusing on with upUgo?
Give or take. We are starting as early as 4 years and we are going up to 18 years for our target group and our customer segment.
All right. And what are the various different channels of distribution that you're currently looking at?
So, before we get to distribution, I think one of the biggest challenges which we are dealing with when it comes to sports and fitness in our country is an issue around awareness. I think
the parents, need for it?
The need is there, but the awareness with which the parents need to kind of wake up to it is something which is still leaving a lot to desire. So while education comes to every parent very intuitively and very naturally, sports and fitness is something which is discretionary. And to my mind and to our mind, the trend is changing rapidly. But I think it's still going to take some more time before it becomes almost like a necessity, because people are waking up to it that children who are playing, who are active, who are kind of, having a fitness regime are smarter, are eating well, are sleeping well, and are happier. So that whole kind of, prognosis is taking time to precipitate in the minds of Indian parents. And that is why I say that awareness is one of our biggest challenges as opposed to distribution.
Right. That makes sense because obviously a lot of parents are solely focused on the whole K-12 education, right?
Yeah.
Like they're willing to spend umpteen amounts of money on that, but then sports has always taken a back foot in the growth of the children. I mean, now we see certain measures coming up in terms of grassroots level academies of different sports. Like earlier we used to have a bunch of sports, but now I think the exposure has grown a lot in that aspect, and there has been a positive change, right?
Yes, there has been a positive change. Given the size of our country with 320 million people under the age brackets of 18 years, the pace at which it is happening and the kind of ecosystem which is there is leaving a huge gap for many, many private players to jump in.
All right. Now I would come to my follow-up question, which is, how has the market reception been? Like you said, the cultural problem of the perception of sports, right? So does it also play a factor in the reception of the product itself?
That's a very good question, Abhishek. The market reception has been, I would say the market reception was lukewarm to warm in the pre-COVID times. And the COVID times has completely turned the whole sentiment tipsy-turvy. Well, in the pre-COVID times when we were doing a physical format, we were taking a very curated program at the doorstep of every child, as in we were going to the condominium complexes. And in a span of 6.5 months, we were in 32 societies in Bangalore with about 315 registrations. And then in a matter of 37 days, we were down to 0 because COVID hit us. So I'll come to it later maybe, and I'm sure COVID and pandemic is one of your questions. But the reception of the customers by and large is that, yes, we need it. It's a great idea. But when it comes to adoption, the adoption takes a bit of a nudge for people to get in because it's discretionary. The moment they say that their child is doing this in their school, they find it to be a check. If their child is just going down and doing something willy-nilly, they find it to be a check. What is taking time for them to realize is that they need a age appropriate, a proper program for their children, as opposed to something which is helter-skelter, which has been happening for long enough, but that is of very limited consequence. So that's the market sentiment I would say we are dealing with, and still solving it on a day-to-day basis, even in the during COVID and now in a bit of a quasi post-COVID scenario.
All right. So I want to understand a little bit more about. So you guys have this whole platform now.
Yeah.
How do you track progress for a particular child in terms of how far along they've come since they've joined your platform?
Sure. So when somebody enrolls and somebody stays for a minimum of 3 months and or above, what we do is that we make children, because we have to make everything fun and engaging, so we make children undertake a couple of challenges.
All right.
Those challenges are a testimonial or a demonstration that what they have become from what they were when they came with us.
Right.
So like recent challenge which is going in our platform is on a plank. And we have had children who have had a plank hold of 8 minutes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So it's unthinkable from a vast majority of people, and especially in the adult category.
Yes.
But that's what children can do. I mean, they are insanely fit. All they need is a little bit of an orientation and a little bit of a nudge, and then they start performing exceedingly well. So between challenges, between assessment reports, between measurements, we are doing a whole host of things for people, because for anything to accrue any benefit or any visible benefit, you need a minimum of 90 days. Otherwise, no physical fitness program can show any benefit in you.
Yes.
That's the least. So that's how we track the progress and monitor the performance.
And how long is a typical program for?
Yeah, each program is approximately for about 60-ish minutes.
Okay.
And there is about 10 minutes earmarked for warm-up and cool-down. And the balance time is the core session or the core program. All the routines are pre-designed. They are according to the age brackets of 4 to 7, 7 to 11, 11 plus, elite, weight loss. And those programs are discussed in a core group with my product team. And that is when a coach takes them to deliver it on the platform.
All right. And the average, do you have a course duration, like a 30-day course or a 60-day?
It is an ongoing thing, because fitness is something which is pretty much like it's learning. It's like lifelong,
Yeah.
and you keep on upgrading levels. So, well, there is no such course that like suppose you're learning a language in coding, which is like you finished this language, now you have to move to next language. So I would say it is pretty much it is annuity. I mean, you keep on doing it.
All right.
As I said, it's a lifestyle, right?
Yes, exactly.
So we don't take any cut off from certain things which we do as our lifestyle, right? Imagine yoga or imagine meditation.
I mean, yeah.
You just
there's
keep on upgrading your
tipping point,
levels.
and then you just keep going.
You keep upgrading your levels.
Yes. So moving on to the next section now, which is the implication of COVID. So ever since the onset of the pandemic last year, has there been any kind of drop in business or any unforeseen changes in the way you operate your business, and how have you coped with them?
Yeah. So of course there has been a massive impact due to COVID. As I said a while ago in my discussion with you, that from 315 registered paying members, we were down to 0 in a matter of 35 days. So yes, that says it all. That also forced us to think very quickly and be kind of agile and nimble footed to see that how will we adopt technology, and which is where we kind of preponed or fast tracked our digital model. Earlier we were thinking of taking technology as a route, but we weren't sure that how fast we will do this. But COVID, I believe, pretty much accelerated for us. So we quickly moved to a digital format, and we started delivering our programs through various digital VC platforms. In parallel, we also started to work on artificial intelligence, whereby we have developed a working prototype where, using computer vision and body mapping, you can get a dedicated trainer to yourself. Okay. So we work with a team of computer science engineers from IIT Kharagpur, and we have developed a completely AI-enabled tool called as Trainer with a capital A in between, which is leveraging technology so that we can send a trainer to everybody's living room anywhere in the country.
And it's personalized for you.
And it is personalized. There is a recommendation engine running. It will check Abhishek's age, BMI, the sport he plays, the level at which he plays, what is his desired level where he wants to get to, and then throw up a program for you, which you will start doing it on the platform.
Is it like a milestone based program?
Yes, it's basis. It will track your progress and it will track your delivery in terms through your toll gates, and then keep you kind of shifting or keep you doing the same level if you're not progressing well. And it will have a physical intervention, as in a digital intervention of a physical coach who will monitor your performance with you depending upon the type of package you're subscribing to, so that the learning is not completely asynchronous and it is synchronous. Because otherwise it's just like you're getting taught by a bot. So to remove that impact and to have a coach also, there are configurations like those. It's still under wraps. We are still kind of crossing some T's and dotting some I's to roll it out. I think it will be a few months before it comes out.
That sounds really interesting, the whole idea.
Thank you.
Okay. So what does your team also look like now? Something I want to do.
Yeah, we have about 17-18 people, excluding the partners who are our service providers. The core members is myself, our Chief Technical Officer and Chief Product Officer, who feature on our website. Vinod, he's an ex-international decathlete. Okay. He has trained a few Olympians, including PV Sindhu and Saina Nehwal. And recently, 2 of his athletes made it in the golfing arena in Olympics, which is Anirban Lahiri and Udayan Mane. Our Chief People's Officer is an expert in soft skills training and hiring. She has worked for about a little under 18 years in the United States, and she's with us. Outside of that, we have about 12-13 coaches who are again ex-national players or ex-state players, state-level players in their chosen sport, who coach with us. We have an Olympian coach on our panel, who's our subject matter expert. He sits on the Netherlands Olympic Committee. His name is Christian Bose. And we consult with him off and on product guidance and delivery guidance. And outside of that, we have marketing partners. We have an iOS and an Android app, so we have a technology partner.
All right.
And we have now our residential partner in the form of Together.
That's wonderful. So what's your plan? What's next for the company now?
Well, growth. We are really kind of, going after the biggest milestone, which is gaining numbers. We are trying to plug gaps wherever we have in product delivery, in team, which is a constant kind of, it's a marathon, right? So we are running that marathon, and we are trying to plug the gaps so that we can consolidate ourselves, and and striving to get an institutional investor behind us, which we are still trying to see that what kind of interest holds for most of them, and then go for the next leap of growth with respect to marketing, with respect to technology, with respect to expansion in other cities. Right now, we are still pretty much, I would say, we are verticalized in Bengaluru. We do have some lateral kind of presence because of the digital format, but it is not something which is to reckon with. And you would expect that to happen if we have a little bit more of elbow room and dry powder with us.
All right, so looking at a pan-India kind of growth now.
That's right. That's right.
So what are the key values that drive upUgo's startup strategy?
So I think, given my own corporate experience, and given I'm not a late 20s, early 30s entrepreneur. I'm too much of more salt in my hair than pepper. But I would say the main values with which we kind of thrive on our organization is accountability and inclusiveness. I think we like to be empathetic towards our staff, towards our customers, and we value our employees a lot. While we want to gain more and more customers, but I think we thrive on principles of honesty, accountability, and a lot of detailing. As in, we don't want to take a half-baked product or something incorrect because we are dealing with children, and we are absolutely paranoid about safety, about the behavior with which our coaches would do with children and students. So basically those are the cornerstones of our value. And even the fact that we are a fairly young organization, we spend a lot of time, resources, and energy on culture, and that is something which is very precious to us, in all honesty.
All right. Okay, what are you reading or listening to right now?
I'm reading Steve Jobs' biography, and I'm listening to Ghulam Ali.
All right. Name one other company and a CEO that inspire you.
Oh, absolutely. The Indian company which inspires me is Zoho, and its CEO. And another one which inspires me is Zerodha.
All right.
Nitin Kamath. And the third one, which is the latest one, which inspires me the maximum, is Eruditus, and the founder is Aswin Dhamera, because I recently learnt a very powerful quote from him, which said that raise your money from your customers first ahead of your investors.
All right. You can have a dinner party with any 3 people in the world. Who are they?
Any day, once again, with my wife. The second one being Radhika Apte, and the third one being Daniel Craig.
What's your favorite time of day?
Oh, mornings.
Are you an early morning person?
Yeah, hands down with my workout.
All right. What do you do in your free time?
I like to read a lot.
All right.
It's a recently picked habit, but I'm beginning to enjoy it a lot. Last 6-7 years, I've really stepped up my reading.
Fiction, non-fiction?
Mostly kind of, spiritual management, life lessons.
All right.
And some fiction also.
All right.
Yeah, like Kite Runner.
All right. Any advice you'd like to give somebody who's thinking of starting their own business?
Think very hard. It's a marathon. You'll gasp out of breath. Think very, 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 very hard.
So that brings us to the end of the interview today. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Abhishek, for having me over.
It's been a pleasure, and let's hear from you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks to you, and thanks to Team Together.